Welcome everybody who has already joined. We're going to be starting very soon. Actually, I think it's already 11:30, so we can get started. Thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Clara Custodio. I lead customer experience here at Consensus International, and I'm really excited to be hosting this session today on Andres. The music started playing again. Maybe you, yeah, exactly. If you move to the next slide, fantastic. Thank you. So I'm very excited to be hosting this session on KPI dashboards in SAP Business One. We all know, we've all heard about KPIs, but if you're not using them, I think this webinar is going to be fantastic for you. And if you are already familiar with KPIs and keep track of them, but we're not doing in your system in SAP Business One, it's also going to be a fantastic session for you today. I would like to introduce our speaker today. His name is Andres Castrillon. He probably doesn't need an introduction to most of you. You probably know them personally. Andres Castrillon is our president here at Consensus International. He's a super busy man, as you can imagine, so we're really thankful that he joined us today. He's very knowledgeable in SAP Business One and specifically in dashboards and KPIs, and I'm sure that we're going to be enjoying very much his teachings. He used to teach at university as well, at college, so he does this very well. He teaches very well. So thank you, Andres. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you well. If you can move to the next slide, Andres, I just have some housekeeping items that I like to explain before we get started with the webinar. A reminder that this webinar is being recorded, so it will be made available to you for consumption on demand whenever it's a better time for you, or if you want to share it with your colleagues, you will all receive an email with the link, and it can be found in our website as well afterwards. All participants are muted by default in order to ensure that we can roll with the content. You can ask questions at any point using the Q&A feature in Zoom. It's probably at the bottom of your screen. You can also use the chat, but we prefer if you use the Q&A. And at the end of the session, if we have time, we will answer all your questions. If we don't have time, we will reach out to you afterwards by email and let you know the answer to your question. And if we feel is relevant for all participants, we'll copy everybody on that response. I'm gonna turn now my camera off, and I'm gonna pass the mic and the floor to Andres so he can start with the content. Again, thank you very much for being with us today. Andres, the mic is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm going to turn off my camera as well. You all know me, so thank you very much. As Clara mentioned, I'm the president of the company and founder 30 years ago in Colombia and 14 years ago here in the US, co-founder. And yeah, it's a pleasure for me to conduct this topic, this webinar around KPIs and analytics. So let me start by saying that it is really important that we covered all the capabilities of SAP, but especially what is the concept behind it. What is that we need analytics and key performance indicators. Very important, what are the ones that are relevant depending on the business industry and the role you're playing, and how to use the product solutions and KPIs and analytics that SAP Business One offers for you that you could start consuming like right away. So why are KPIs so important? I would say that the most important part, what is a KPI? It's a key performance indicator, also known as a metric of a measure of one of business relevant information, is nothing more than a number that you could track, that you could follow, that gives you an indication of how your business, your position, your function, your role is performing or adding value to the company, to your customers as well. So as we say, if you don't manage something, if you don't measure something, it's very hard to manage it. So probably the best example that I use is, when I jump in my elliptical every morning, I guess I do it, I have to do it. I do it 3 times a week, at least 4 times a week. I want to do at least 10 cycles in 30 minutes. So I start tracking how am I doing after each cycle. So once I finish a cycle, I check if I have done it in less than 3 minutes. If I'm over 3 minutes, then I have to speed up a little bit to achieve the goal. Sometimes I try to do 11 in 30 minutes. So, I adjust my settings and keep track of it. And, whenever I don't pay attention to it, quite often I just don't meet the goal that I want to achieve. So measure it, define what it is that you want to measure, and keep track of it so you could achieve whatever is needed. So the next thing you have to do is, what are the options that I have based on my role? What is that I have to achieve based on what I do in the business? So something that I keep saying to my colleagues, presidents and owners and of our customers is, we need to do strategic planning. We need to do some type of planning in the horizon and see what's going on. And as Winston Churchill used to say, planning is essential. Also, the plan is useless once you finish it, because there are so many things that change, right? The things that you use as assumptions in the process of planning change so rapidly. And the year 2020 and the pandemic is a very good example of it. So we at Consensus joined in January. All of us had a couple sessions with the strategic planning coach for 2 days. And, 2 months later, all the assumptions were not valid anymore with this pandemic. So we need to go back. But because we had already done some planning, it was really easy to define what we needed to do, what to adjust, what is the effect of what could happen. And we've been basically managing each one of those. There are certain tools that we use in our process of planning, and we use Gazelle's methodology with our coach, which is something that I really recommend. You do a good planning session in just a day and a half or 2. If you have a good coach, and then you could plan, how to grow the business, how to solve the biggest challenges, how to differentiate by having a coach that asks the right questions. But one of the tools we use is, and this is something that you all can use, this could be actually downloaded or you request it from us, we'll be glad to send it over, and even have one of our consultants work with you and review what is the cash conversion cycle. Why is this important? Because each one of us, each individual in the company is either doing sales or is in the support of sales. So depending on my role, I'm probably working on the sales cycle, finding leads, making proposals, taking orders. But I could also be on the delivery cycle, providing customer service, shipping what the customer is ordering, shipping on time. I could also be on the administration part, which is part of a critical part of the business, right? Like billing and paying vendors and all of that. But in order for me to sell, deliver, and collect or pay, I have to either make or produce. So based on this specific section of my cash conversion cycle, I could define, what is my contribution to make this cash conversion cycle shorter. So the difference today of companies making money or losing money is not the margin, is usually the time it takes to get an order and get that converted into cash, a dollar back into our bank. So anything you do to reduce the sales or the delivery cycle, the billing is welcome, is going to contribute greatly to the profit of the business. Same in production. If my production cycle is long, anything that I do to reduce it or my purchasing process, the better, because I could have less money linked to my business. So there are multiple ways of improving my role, and there is a section in each one of these different chapters, if you like, how to improve the sales cycle. And very important, Are these basically to improve the cycle, shorten the cycle, or is this to eliminate mistakes? How's this going to affect my profit and loss? So this is an exercise that I have to do in my business. It's not going to take a long time. Once you finish this process, then you could say, all right, this is what I need to focus on. Believe it or not, most of the time, this cash cycle is long because there are many errors. Either I'm capturing the order incorrectly, or I'm shipping incorrectly, or I'm billing incorrectly, didn't use the right price, agreed with the customer. I shipped together with what the customer ordered, little less or little more. The customer is complaining. That is a good reason for delaying payment. And the customer has the right to delay payment if he's not happy with what it was delivered. So we make mistakes, and if we don't track the mistakes, it's going to be very hard to improve and reduce those mistakes. So again, each one of us, every individual in the company has an important role to play, either to reduce the cycle depending on the role, or to eliminate mistakes and being more successful. So in order to do that, there is actually a very good web page called kpilibrary.com that we encourage you to visit, where you could enter the business that you're in. You could also enter the role that you perform in the company, and then based on that, the system, that web page is going to suggest the type of KPIs that you need. The beauty of it is that, I can have already a lot of KPIs and analytics built into SAP. If you're using SAP Business One, those are ready to be consumed, ready to be used. So you won't have to start building anything specific, anything sophisticated. Just turn it on and make visible those that make sense. So let me switch here to system pretty quick. So if you're running SAP Business One in HANA, one of the things you're getting are basically the possibility of using this cockpit that is basically a control panel where you see different indicators. So my role is to basically create this cockpit by user, by customer, based, or by a specific user, based on the role that this person plays. So yeah, there are quite a few of those. If I need to, if I'm, for example, the president of the company or the CFO, what I have to do is turn on the, for example, total sales amount, in this case, month over month. So I could see how much I have sold this month so far. This is demo company, of course. So this is how much I have invoiced yet. It's possible because I bill more or invoice more than the previous year. I'm sorry, than the previous month as it shows here. But compared to other periods, it could be positive or negative. In this case, I'm going down. So that is good. So it's growing, is above the target, but it's negative in terms of comparison with the previous month. In this case, my gross profit, I'm losing money for whatever reason, but I'm not losing as much money as I was losing last month. So I have in these key performance indicators the metrics that make sense for me. By the way, I could make this visible in my mobile app of SAP. So me as a president or a CFO of a company can check these numbers every single day. I could also have, for example, the receivables, or for people in operations and logistics. What is the inventory that I have shipped out already? What is the value of my inventory? As you can see, you have colors, you have trends, and you have periods linked to key performance indicators. So let me first of all show you the type of key performance indicators that I have, and the ones that I could consume, and then later on we'll go into how to customize those if needed. So When I go down into the key performance indicators or the analytics or the cockpit, first of all, I have the possibility of adding graphics that I can change. I could define based on my specific requirements. I also have some specific graphics that I could consume. Many of these are also available in SQL. But the key performance indicators are the ones that you see here at the bottom, now at the top of this screen, where you see, what is this? I see total assets. This is important for companies that are asset intensive, for example. What are my liabilities? This could be very important for people in the accounting department that are managing assets or liabilities or whatever it is. Working capital, very important for somebody in charge of treasury, the cash position of the company. For the accounts receivable people, how many days of sales I have outstanding. So what are the receivables based on sales per month? So I could turn on this one and have it visible in my cockpit. So there are some that are, very accounting, financial related. The operating cycle, for example, on the KPI level, you could see what it means. Cash conversion cycle, asset turnover, so compare of my assets against sales. So again, there are way too many KPIs that I can use. I turn some on, like gross profit. I could also take into account the net profit, and I could do it either by month, by quarter, by whatever I want. All I have to do is check the parameters of that specific KPI. So once I get my dashboard defined with the different components against, once again, either graphics, key performance indicators, I can either create my own cockpit, or I could save it as a template and use it for multiple people that are on the same position that I am in. So yeah, these are all the things that I have. I also have the graphics. I have all the things that are relevant for me. So if I go back to my PowerPoint presentation, bear with me. Then these are just some of the suggestions, and the beauty of it again is that if you're running HANA, all of these are already existing. Again, just be sensitive to what are the initiatives of the company, what is the strategy, and select those that make sense. So for the CEO, the CFO, the sales VP, what are the sales I have, what is the net income, the margin I'm getting. And I could have different periods, so I could have comparison with last month, same month last year, or whatever, so I can do that. In operations, again, anything related to inventory, any open documents, any mistakes made in shipping, credit memos that I have, or, for example, very important, tracking obsolete inventory before it gets worse, get rid of it, put together promotion. Average time to ship, that is a very important one that we suggest. We have improved for many customers, the time it takes since they take an order from a customer to the time they do the delivery. We have done reductions that are really significant, from 6-7 days for delivery since the order is taken to just half a day. Just imagine what is the benefit of that, improving customer service, reducing the cash cycle. I mean, the benefits are huge. And if you measure these type of metrics, the company is really going to be more profitable. And at the end of the day, that's what you want. In production, the lead time for production, I could say that typically I take a couple of days or a couple of weeks or a couple of months to do a production. But if I measure the lead time and I identify those, times that are taking way too long, I could focus on those, reduce that time, and yeah, make it, faster and more agile. if you're on SQL and you select any of these KPIs, there are some graphics already built that you could turn on in Crystal, developed already by SAP. But based on queries that we could build for you, we could also create some specific KPIs as well and put them on your cockpit or your graphics in the SQL version if that's the case. It's just going to take a little longer. You need to, you don't have it ready to be consumed, but you could always design them. Okay. So now let's focus on how to use these KPIs correctly. You know, how to configure my dashboards, how to build a cockpit, and I covered that a little bit before, where you go into the system and start selecting the components that you want to see. And there are, again, a KPI from the system. We'll cover those in a minute. I'll see some other things that I have, and remember that a graphic tells more than 1,000 words, as they say. So let me switch back to the system. So one of the most common reports or controls that you have in a system is show me a report every day that shows me all the orders that I have pending to be delivered, or show me all the purchase orders that I have open that I'm supposed to receive now. So those are called count widgets. Something like this, for example, show me my sales orders that I have in the system that I have pending to be delivered. My goal is to take this to 0 every day as much as possible. If I click on this count widget and I click in any of these documents, you know, I could just click on it, open that document, I see it here, and if I go ahead and deliver this specific order, then I don't have enough inventory, so unfortunately I won't be able to deliver this one. But you know, as soon as I do that and I refresh, then the count is going to go down. So let me show you how to build a count widget, and those are, you know, very easy to create. So let me open, for example, a purchase order. Once I'm in a purchase order in SAP, remember that I could always, you know, work on the columns that I want to have visible. On the grading here, this is a purchase order that I have that was already closed, for example. I see that here. But let's say that I want to build a query that automatically shows me all the purchase orders that I have open, because for me that is critical. And then I could add conditions to it. So the first thing I do is that I turn on system information. When I turn on by clicking on View System Information and I put my cursor in any of the fields, the system is going to show right here at the bottom what is, first of all, the table, and second, the name of the field where that information is stored at. In this case, all port comments. And then I have, you're going to see some other ones like salesperson, inventory, whatever. So the header information is stored in the all port table, and the lines are stored in the table POR1, as you could see at the bottom, POR1 item code. So if I come to my query in Tools Generator, I could say, you know what, I'm going to build, I want to build a query that first of all shows me all the purchase orders that I have that are open, for example. So I want to show, for example, the purchase order number. All I have to do is click on the field. I also want to show the status. The status is going to tell me if the order is open or closed. I could also show the date of the purchase order. I could eventually, for example, show certain purchase orders for certain dates, card code and name, and I could get some other information in here, like, for example, what is the document total? and that's it. So all I have to do is click execute, and now I have a query with all the information, all the purchase orders that I have. But if you notice, I see some that have closed purchase order, which means these orders were already received. Remember that if I click in any column, I could sort. So if I click in document status, it's going to show me closed first. If I double click, it's showing this in descending order. Now I have all the open orders here, all the open purchase order. So I could either do a filter, but even better, I could say, show me the orders, purchase orders that are open in this case. Okay, so I could do that. Once I execute, I'm only going to see the open purchase orders. So now I could save it, and I could save this in my reports or my general ones, and let me put it here, reports, for example, right here, reports, and I'm going to say open POs, and I can save it now. So now this is saved. All I have to do every time is come here, come to reports, execute, and I'm going to get all my purchase orders right away. So it's saved. I could store it, and I could later on do whatever with it. So the next thing I do is right here, my tools. So in the cockpit option here, I could create a new count widget setup. So I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to call it open POs, and as I'm lazy, I'm going to copy and paste here, and then I have to create or select the query that I just created. So what it is going to do, my open POs, let me call it open POs webinar, okay? Okay, so now I could come here and I could say I want to add a widget, a count widget. Let me see if I can do some filtering here. I have all, let me show you. Open PO. So this is probably the one that I just created. So I said yes, check mark. Okay. If I come back, then I click OK, I should see this count widget at the bottom, my open POs. So now I can save it, update my cockpit, and now I'm going to see my open POs right away. So I don't have to be running reports to show me all the open POs. I could just come here, click on it, and the system is going to display all the open purchase orders that I have. So if I take, any of this, for example, this purchase order, and I have some quantities, so I could say, all right, let me do the receipt of this purchase order pretty quick. I could set add and view. This is going to ask me for batches. So batch 2020-08-27, an update. And I'm going to do the same. So this is going to be the batch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. An update for the second item. Now I can add it, and I got this purchase order received. So if I come back to this purchase order and I refresh the same purchase order, now it says that it's closed. and I can validate this in the relationship map where I see my purchase order and my good receipt linked to it. So if I close here and I refresh, oh, it was already updated, I think. So, and I could configure my cockpit to refresh every few minutes. So the number of POs that I have now went down to 25. So that is an awesome tool that I can use in SAP. Very, very useful to manage specific topics that are relevant for me. So the count widget is probably the most popular one because they're easy to do, easy to use, and I can avoid a lot of reports. Now, the second topic that I want to cover are the key performance indicators, what you see here. So in SAP, I'm not going to cover necessarily how to create new ones, but you could adjust the ones that we have in the system. So if I click into this pervasive analytics icon, because you have the right to it, then you could take any of these, for example, let me see, sales. Total sales, for example. If I click on it, then you're going to see right here a lot of components. Let me explain what it means so you could play with these key performance indicators. So we have three sections in here. On the left-hand side, we have what is the source of information that I'm using to build this specific key performance indicator. And I could either use user-defined queries, if I have, any of this. For example, I could have the open PO that I just created, if that makes sense. Or I could use the some of the already built queries that SAP provides, so you could build your own key performance indicators. So in this case, we're using the source that I'm using is the sales analysis from SAP. So if we move to the right-hand side in here, then the first thing I have are, at the top are the value settings, filter and parameters. And if I want to use a composed KPI, I'll show you that in a second. So once I'm on the value settings here, this is where I define what is that I'm going to be showing in my KPI, and you could preview what the KPI is going to look like right here on the right-hand side. So I give it a title, total sales amount of this month, for example. And then I have a zoom of net sales amount. So this is something the system is taking into account. And this is taken from the analytical view here that I have. The second thing I have here is what is that I want to show as the period of time, because I could have sales this month or this year. So I could eventually say, you know what, I want this to be the sales for this year, okay? So now I see the sales this year a little better. I can change the name, sales of this year, and then I could change it and save it later on. I could say what is the target. So, sales, target of sales for this year, for example, I give it a name, and then I give it a value. Let's say that I want to be on for the year in, for example, let's say that I want to be at 60 million. And then when you see the trend right here, I could say I want to compare this based on, for example, year-over-year, month-over-month. As I selected this year, the system is suggesting year-over-year, so it's comparing with the last year, and this is what you're going to see right here. So you see here, the color red means that I'm below my expectation for the year, which is 60 million. But if I'm okay with that value, I could say, up to this year, I was supposed to be at, for example, 32 million. then it's going to show green, which means I'm doing okay compared to the year to date. Now, what else I have here? I have the possibility of, for example, saying that this is going to be an interim KPI, which means this is not a KPI that I'm going to be showing in my board, in my cockpit. This is going to be used as a basis to compare with another KPI. This is used every time that I have a composite KPI, so a KPI that depends on another KPI. So, for example, I want to capture the margin, but the margin is going to depend a lot on the sales. So I could have some type of comparison between margin and sales, and the margin, I don't want it to be a KPI, but a basis to achieve it. So smaller values is better, which means that when it's growing, it's going to be green, but if smaller value is better. For example, my receivables, my accounts receivable, then a smaller would be better. Then if it's going up, it's going to show red. It's going down, it's going to show green. And then if I want to show the minus sign because it's relevant for this financial position, and then I could save it, give it a name, total sales amount year to date, for example. I click OK. And now I have created a new KPI using as a basis one that I had. I could also do some type of filtering. So I could use, in this case, only invoices, but I could also have, for example, the credit memos. I want to reduce credit memos, for example. And this is the one that I was telling you about before. I could show the value of a key performance indicator, but compare this KPI with another KPI that I previously created into the system. Again, this is a way of using the key performance indicators to bring into the system. Something else I could do, I can build my graphics. For example, I could have my top 5 customers by sales amount, for example. So this is a different type of graphic or tile that I have in my graphic, in my key performance indicator. Again, in this case, I'm using basic settings, which is what is the source of data. If I come here, then I select the information that I'm using as a basis to select it. Then I have, once I select the view or the or whatever it is, then I could show here the net sales amount. I could also show not only the net sales amount, but I could also bring, for example, the gross profit. Let me see if I can show this up right here. Now I'm going to see 2 different pieces of information. And what you see here is, for example, what is the customer name, but I could also have additional fields like the customer code as well. And I could say, you know what, I don't want 5. I want to see the top. When you have way too many, you could lose sight. So I don't know, maybe 20 is a good number. And once you get this, you could save it. So this could be customer by sales. And then I could say, let's remove this, the top 5, so I could later on change it pretty quick and just save it. So now I have one graphic that I could show in my system, in my dashboard. Now I could also show, for example, a different type of graphic. I could use it as a forecast. And there are a lot of additional information that I could use. I could even do ABC analysis, change the type of graphic. And very important, I could also from here link to the information that I have from a customer, for example, certain actions. So from here, I could open, for example, an advanced dashboard if I want to. But I could from here very simple say, you know, I want to open an SAP, open the, for example, the customer card. Customer card, I could do that pretty quick. So I could say, show me the business partner master data. and then the link is going to go from the partner code to the BP code. So I'm going to be consistent. If I click OK, then from here, I'm going to be able to, again, display the information of the customer card directly into my dashboard. Okay? So this is a way to build or adjust your KPIs and come here, create graphics. And for illustration purposes, I already created this one here. And if I right click from here, I could go and open the business partner master data. I could also from here even trigger other, like create a open the search screen in HANA that is like a Google type of search. So from here I could open all the information that I have for these customers, the information of the customer, all the sales, invoices, anything that is relevant. Yeah, it is really powerful. Something else we have in SAP, we're approaching the end of the presentation, is the possibility of displaying some reports that SAP comes with. And we're probably not aware of. And all of these have certain parameters that I can change. This is a very good one, for example, which is inventory status analysis overview. So this one is a graphic that comes with SAP and allows you to see, for example, show me all the items that potentially are going to grow out of inventory. So here I see a graphic, and if I move my cursor, you see at the top how it changes the item, changes the inventory value, changes how many is going to turn over during the year. So I could do that. I could go back and switch to this, for example. So these are the items that I'm selling quite a bit. I have plenty of inventory. If I move my cursor, you see how fast it is. It's amazing. It's amazing how quick, how fast it works. And I have some other ones, like for example, sales employees, and I could actually change the targets for these graphics that I have as part of my analytics in SAP Business One. So this is basically what we wanted to cover. I would say the takeaway from here is SAP already comes with a lot of queries, a lot of key performance indicators, a lot of graphics that you could configure, customize, and change as needed. What is important, and sometimes we fail to do, is define what are those relevant key performance indicators for the users. So that is basically what I wanted to cover today. So I want to now turn into questions if we have any on the chat.
We don't have any questions yet, but to all of you, we can give you a couple of minutes. If anybody wants to send in a question, we can wait for a couple of minutes and see if we get a question in this time. Andres, one question. I think you already mentioned this during the webinar, but what you were showing was version 10, correct?
That is correct. I was showing version 10 and the analytics, and I could probably show you briefly the web client that also has some analytics. And again, some of these can be shown on the terminals as well, the mobile apps. But most of them are available in version 9 anyway, 9.3, 9.2.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Andres. We have a question from Paul. He said, I missed how you went into KPI Designer. Can you please show that again?
All right, the KPI Designer, sure. Give me a sec. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
All right. So I open here at the top where it says pervasive analytics.
Okay.
Then I open the KPI. For example, if I open, let's say, the cash. So there are certain KPIs that are not relevant to time, like for example my cash position, my inventory position. So anything related to the balance sheet is not like time sensitive. So this is my cash position today. So I don't have a time dimension here. Okay. However, I could have a trend, as you could see on the left-hand side, comparing to my cash position of other years. As I have less cash now, then it's showing me a negative. So I could do that and display that. Anything in particular you want me to explain, Paul?
Andres, I think Paul's question was just how to get to the designer. So I think you probably covered that in your response.
Okay, all right.
Okay. And we have a question from Cynthia. If we are planning to do this training in Spanish, Cynthia, I will get back to you by email, okay? I don't see any other questions coming in. So Andres, if you wanna wrap, if to all of you attending the webinar, if you have an additional question or a follow-up questions, do send us an email. You can always send the email to info@consensusintl.com. And you will receive an email with the recording, with the access to the recording of this webinar, as well as a link to a survey that we are asking you to fill with your interest for upcoming webinars. We are really designing this webinar program to fit your needs. So whatever suggestion you have or topic that you would like us to cover in this webinar program, please let us know through the survey. Thank you, Andres. Thank you very much for the valuable content. And thank you, everybody, for attending today.
So, yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for attending. Thank you, Clara, for organizing this webinar. You know, each one of these topics could take some more time. But again, my suggestion is define what are the KPIs that are relevant for every position in the company and build that KPI so that person can do a contribution that is significant to the business.
Thank you. Thank you, Andres.
We wish you all to be healthy, to keep busy and faithful, that we'll get out of this pandemic stronger than before.
Of course. Thank you, Andres. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.